It is my pleasure now to announce the commencement of the 2018 Walking with the Buddha, Discovering the Natal Landscape of the Buddha International Academic Workshop。
2018年与佛同行，发现佛陀的故乡国际学术研讨会开幕式正式开始。
For the past few years, Fo-Guang-Shan Buddha Museum has been making consistent effort in social education. Each year, the Buddha Museum holds several exhibitions as well as academic workshops to promote international and cultural exchanges. This year, in order to celebrate the Buddha's birthday, the Buddha Museum co-curates Walking with the Buddha, Discovering the Natal Landscape of the Buddha exhibition with Durham University and the Oriental Museum, UK.
佛陀纪念馆为国际博物馆，长期推动社会教育，每年举办丰富的展览，并引进国际优秀特展。此次我们也特别欢庆2018年佛诞节，佛陀纪念馆首度与英国杜伦大学、东方文化博物馆联合策展《与佛同行，发现佛陀的故乡》。
Introduction of VIPs.
贵宾介绍，首先介绍佛光山寺住持心保和尚。英国杜伦大学联合国教科文组织教习
Professor Robin Cunningham.
尼泊尔国家考古局前局长
Mr. Kosh Prasad Acharya.
尼泊尔蓝毗尼发展信托首席联络官
Mr. Gyanan Rai.
东方文化博物馆馆长
Dr. Craig Barclay.
东方文化博物馆策展人
Dr. Rachel Barclay.
佛陀纪念馆馆长暨与佛同行策展人如常法师。佛光大学佛教学院院长万金川院长。佛陀纪念馆顾问张玉腾博士。佛光山海外巡监院院长暨与佛同行策展人满谦法师。宜兰县政府文化局局长李志勇局长。文化部文化资产局文化资产保存研究中心主任李立芳主任。国立台南艺术大学文博学院院长刘婉珍院长。杜伦大学荣誉研究员
Dr. Jennifer Tremblay Fitton.
美国纽约国家地理摄影师
Mr. Ira Block.
东方文化遗址保护联盟荣誉主席旭慧法师。台湾博物馆专业协会创办人暨理事徐纯理事，以及高雄市教育局局长范炫绿局长，欢迎您。史前博物馆前馆长张善南馆长，欢迎。以及法国文化评论家林祖强先生，欢迎。南天大学佛教研修学系暨人间佛教中心主任，同时也是我们此次研讨会司仪觉维法师，以及我们南天大学佛教推广团员所有的贵宾一行20人，欢迎您！我们来自南天大学的所有的教育推广团，以及菲律宾教育局外联组组长
Ms. Shirley E. Legaspi.
以及我们光明大学教育代表团等18位贵宾，还有我们藏经楼主持觉元法师，也欢迎您的到来。
addressed by the host organizations.
主办单位致辞，首先恭请
First, let us invite Most Venerable Xin Bao, Head Abbot of Fo Guangshan, to address us.
首先恭请佛光山住持心保和尚致辞，掌声欢迎。
各位贵宾、各位专家学者、各位师兄、各位先生、各位女士，大家午安啊！大家吉祥。今天可以说是为了庆祝佛诞的一个学术发表盛会。也是佛陀纪念馆与佛同行，发现佛陀的故乡的一个很主要的系列活动之一。那么，相信大家呢，在了解佛法，乃至呢，在修行佛法的当下呢，很重要的一件事情，就是要透过亲身的体验修行来证明佛陀呢所要宣说的道理。那么这个呢，我们讲悟道，或是讲正道。那一般人呢，很容易了解的，就是讲觉悟。那么这次与佛同行的这个学术讨论呢，我们透过科学透过考古，透过考证来发现佛陀降生的蓝毗尼园。那么其实呢，比我们文献记载中的这个历史呢，还要往前所以这也就是说，证明佛陀呢确实出生在人间。当然啦，出生在人间，修行在人间呢，我们也讲成佛呢，也就在人间。这当然就是给我们一个很大的信心，很大的一个希望所在。那么，在佛教的理论里面呢，就直接讲人呢，本来就是佛，心佛众生呢，三无差别。只要去除我们的颠倒梦想，我们就可以与佛平等。所以，透过这次的学术讨论我们将佛陀的故乡呢，可以还原。就是超越时空把那个时候佛陀的整个生活背景还原到原来的样子，所以这个意义呢，我想是非常殊胜的。就好像我们在现在完全了解佛陀当时的整个生活环境乃至社会背景。所以在这当下呢，我们就如同感觉到佛呢就在我们的身边，佛呢就在我们的当下。当然了，对佛法的体验呢，就是靠我们这颗心所以不管是过去乃至现在乃至未来，透过大家的这份用心呢，相信呢佛法呢生生世世一直流传下来，所以呢佛呢随时随地呢都在我们身边一样，感到非常非常的亲切。那么这一次呢，要特别感谢这么多位学者专家呢，提供 非常好的学术论文除了让我们对佛法还有佛陀有更多的了解之外，那么相信呢，也借此这么一个殊胜的因缘，那么让大家对佛法升起信心升起希望，对自己呢也升起信心也看见未来。几句共勉谢谢大家。
Thank you, Most Venerable Xin Bao.
再次谢谢我们新宝和尚。
Next, let us welcome Professor Robin Cunningham, UNESCO Chair in Archaeological Ethics and Practice in Cultural Heritage, Durham University, UK, to address us.
接着邀请英国杜伦大学联合国教科文组织教习康宁汉教授致辞，掌声欢迎。
Thank you, Most Venerable Abbot, venerable members of the Sangha, respected Dean, Director Generals, Directors, brother of an old friend, and respected advisors, distinguished delegates, colleagues and friends. This morning I had the pleasure and also the privilege to speak at the opening of Walking with the Buddha, the exhibition. As I mentioned there, and I will stress again, it is undoubtedly a world-class exhibition in a world-class venue and put together, created by a world-class team. So congratulations to all of you for your achievements.
敬爱的新宝和尚，还有我们所有的与会贵宾。我还是要重复今天早上在开幕典礼所说的话，就是我们杜伦大学呢的团队这次非常的荣幸能够来到佛光山，跟这个国际级的专业团队有这样的一个合作的经验，所以我要再次表达我的感谢，非常谢谢各位。
What you have achieved is to translate discovery to visitors and to engagement with the very, very core. We now find ourselves on the cusp of what I hope to be another world-class event in the same day, that of the International Workshop.
我要感谢佛光山在这样的一个时间内呢，呈现出来的一个展品、一个展览呢，让全世界在台湾不仅可以看到佛陀的故乡，也可以跟这一些文物呢有所互动，所以我很开心。我想将来呢一定有其他很多可以合作的经验。那另外呢，我也非常荣幸可以接着延续到今天下午另外一个国际级的活动。
And in a way, the exhibition has been a process by which long texts, deep scientific texts, have been reduced and reduced and reduced to a very understandable narrative and message. However, the academic and scientific research behind is what the next sessions will be focused on, to give you the depth and also the opportunity for discussion about those discoveries.
我们在展览所看到的呢，是从这一个古迹里面这些非常冗长的文献当中，由策展人呢转化成非常浅显易懂的这一些图像跟雕像，来让大家认识。那我们接着今天下午在这个国际学术研讨会呢，会延续早上展览的内容，但是我们将要透过一些科学性的分析，再展开这一次展览的深度跟广度。
5 of the papers will take you by the hand and walk you through the natal landscape of the Buddha, and not just one Buddha, but 3 Buddhas. And it will walk you in the footsteps of not just the 3 Buddhas, but also some of the best known pilgrims. Pilgrims like the Emperor Soka, Fasen, Wanzang, and even later Ripumala.
在各位今天的这个国际会议当中呢，首先的5篇论文会带着各位走过佛陀的故乡， 而且这个故乡呢，不是属于一世的佛陀，还有2位过去世的佛陀。那同时呢，各位也有机会去体验到当时的朝圣者是什么样的一个心情跟体验。所以我们会听到法显大师、玄奘大师，甚至于是欧育王的故事。
It will also help you to engage with the challenges facing those tasked by their nations and also by UNESCO with the protection and preservation of that most invaluable landscape. Preservation in the face of globalization, of development and infrastructure.
同时在这一些文章里面呢，我们今天的学者也会提到要如何来面对这个文物保存的这一些挑战，特别是联合国教科文组织以及尼泊尔政府呢，要如何在全球化急速的发展这样的一个情况之下，还能够完整的保存这些非常重要的文物。
And then 3 papers will take you through the crossroads of Asia, through the expansion of Buddhism, through Gandhara to China. And also, those will be the ways in which we will engage you with the collection from Durham's Oriental Museum of both the sculpture and also those unique sets of photograph which previously have not been exhibited, those of the great Buddhist archaeological pioneer Sir John Marshall.
那后面的3篇文章呢，将会带各位走过亚洲的文化走廊，从犍陀罗时代的这一个佛教艺术，一直走到中国的佛教艺术。那我们的听众呢，就会有机会透过这个机会，看到杜伦大学东方博物馆所呈现出来的这一些文物。那特别还有很多很珍贵的画面跟照片。
But we will attempt to remain grounded because we also have the presentation from my friend Ira Block here, who will bring us some reflection of the vibrancy of contemporary Buddhist pilgrimage.
那最重要的，我们也很荣幸能够请到国家地理杂志的摄影师 Ira Block 先生来呈现当代的朝圣者所看到的是什么样的一个画面。
And then I must also again express my gratitude to the team here at the Fo Guangshan for delivering on that dream and making it a reality. I must also acknowledge their assistance in helping our 2 Nepali representatives, both Mr. Ganin Rai, representative of the government of Nepal, Lumbini Development Trust, and also Mr. Kosh Prasad Acharya.
那我要再一次向佛光山的团队表达我的感谢，谢谢各位让我们这么美好的一个梦想在今天成真了，也要谢谢佛光山帮助我们尼泊尔2位非常重要的官员排除万难真的能够顺利的从尼泊尔飞到台湾来，所以非常非常感谢佛光山。
And then finally, to reflect on the generosity of the Japanese Funds in Trust, who have supported this work throughout and whose work that has been supported we will present. We also owe a huge gratitude to the Alliance, for which Professor Frank has very close relationship, for supporting SARC exchange between Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Nepal, as well as to Dr. Kasai, who is a philanthropist who, in the gap between Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the Japanese Funds in Trust for UNESCO, out of his own pocket paid for the entirety of this year's fieldwork. And so all of them are owed a huge debt of gratitude because we are able to present on this important work through their support. So thank you very much.
我今天也要另外向联合国教科文组织日本基金会，还有李志宏教授，在这个过程当中呢，促成了这一次展览的成功，包括斯里兰卡、巴基斯坦，还有这个阿富汗地区的文物的交换。另外还有卡塞博士 让我们能够赞助这一次整个文物的这个发展这种发掘的过程当中所有的这一个拍摄的费用。我想没有这么多人的帮助跟鼓励，我们今天就没有机会呈现这样的一个展览给世界。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Professor Cunningham, for a very informative introduction.
再次谢谢我们康宁汉教授。
Next, let us also welcome Professor Wan Jinchuan, Dean of College and Department of Buddhist Studies, Fo-Guang University, to address us.
同时也欢迎佛光大学佛教学院院长万金川院长上台致辞，掌声欢迎。
法和尚，还有各位与会的贵宾、专家学者，大家午安，大家吉祥。作为所谓的承办单位，佛光大学佛教学院是这一次的承办单位之一，但是说起来非常惭愧我们是来沾佛光的光，来占佛馆的便宜的不但我一个人来占，我们有老师。还有我们佛教学院的同学，大学部的、硕士班的、博士班的，在哪边站起来让大家看看好吗？那么佛教学院，说起来是一个不中不西、不古不今的学院。为什么这么说呢？这个学院有教室，有寝室，哪个学校没有？那么有斋堂，有佛堂，稍微奇怪了一点。最奇怪的是，这个学院呢，还有大寮，也就是他们自己做饭自己吃。你做的很难吃给我吃，那我要做的更难吃的给你吃。也就是佛教学院采取了共住共食的生活方式，看起来好像和古代的丛林很像，实际上呢不然，因为在这边他们不只是接受佛教的教育，他们还可以有其他许许多多的世俗知识可以学，因为佛光大学还有好多其他的学院。这是我说它有一点像古代的丛林，也有一点像今天的世俗大学。说它不中不西。那么中国古代除了丛林之外，也有书院，一起生活。那么现在的大学是一个舶来品。从西方进来的一个纯粹世俗的大学。那么星云大师设立佛教学院，他一直希望我们能够同时的融合古今以及中外。这个学院成立到现在将近10年，我们不断的在摸索，希望能够有一个新的教育模式，新的陶冶学生的一种方式，那么10年，就我所知道的，佛教学院的学生，只要在佛光大学，人家一看就知道你是佛教学系的，面有态色。不是，是他们的衣着，他们的举止，在这种共住共食、早晚课之间，陶冶出一种与众不同的气质。我说，这是佛教学院给我们学生的财富。他们在这样一个环境底下，逐渐的养成了一种与众不同的气宇、胸襟。那么中午在用午斋的时候，我跟如常法师交换意见，我说3分钟我能讲些什么？ 可不可以做一点置入性的行销？那么作为佛教学院院长来介绍佛教学院，好像也是理所当然了当然这一次的研讨会以及展览，我特别希望我们佛教学院的同学来参访。主要的原因是因为佛教的研究，特别是印度佛教的研究，我们能够拥有的第一手书面文献其实非常的匮乏。这也是刚才Professor 康林汉所提到的，为什么法显的著作这么重要，玄奘的著作这么重要？因为他们亲身去到当时的印度。可是这一类的著作在公元前几乎看不到，那么怎么知道传世的文献所说的是真实的？那么我们只有靠着地下出土的文物，透过地下出土文物的解读和传世文献相互印证，我们才知道书面文献有没有夸大，还是如实的记载，或者书面文献根本是假的。那么这个就是一般我们所说的两重证据法，地下出土的文献和传世的文献相互印证。地下出土的文献大体上不会刻意造假，可是呢，书面文献经常造假。那么在这边呢，为了切合主题，我倒是愿意举一个大家都熟悉的例子来谈两重证据法。每年7月半，盂兰盆节，热闹非凡。我们都知道这个节庆是和《盂兰盆经》有着密切的关系。那么《盂兰盆经》里面谈到了如何拯救在地狱中的母亲，如何去追思过去七世的父母。这部经在许多现代学者的眼光认为这部经可能是伪经。为什么？里面所谈的孝道思想和中国传统极为相似，很可能是佛教为了适应中国的孝道，那么伪造了这个经典。这种说法，特别是当年在日本学者之间非常流行。但是这几年靠着印度、巴基斯坦所出土的碑铭，许多特别研究佛教碑铭的学者解读了碑铭上的这些文献，却发现那么塑碑、造这个佛像为七世父母消灾解厄，那这种东西我们在云冈、在龙门看得多得很，但是这个并不是，那么就是印度的这种习惯，是佛教很早期就有的习惯，它和中国传统的孝道毫无关系，那么也就是说，我们透过地下出土的文物，更加的印证了《盂兰盆经》里面所谈到的孝道以及种种的措施是印度佛教习俗之一，和它中国化与否完全无关，那么这就是一种书面文献和出土文物相互印证，可以那么判断一部经典真伪，最有趣的一个例子，那么这边当然谈到了所谓文化的共性，孝道不是中国人才讲求，天下谁没有父母，那么印度也有印度的孝道，不能因为中国特别讲孝道，所以呢认为汉译佛经里面只举凡出现孝跟忠这些呢都是翻译者加上去的，都是原文没有的，比如说当年的中村元就这样的认为，那我总算也凑合了今天研讨会的主题，谈了一点考古，那最后呢，我预祝这一次的研讨会 那么圆满成功。谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Professor Wan, for your informative remarks.
再次谢谢我们万院长。
Addressed by VIPs.
贵宾致辞。
We are truly honored today to have the presence of Mr. Frank Li Zhiyong, Director General of Cultural Affairs, Bureau of Yilan County. Let us put our hands together to welcome Director General Li.
首先，我们也邀请宜兰县政府文化局李志勇局长上台，也为我们致辞，掌声欢迎。
尊敬的我们的新宝和尚，还有我们的佛陀纪念馆的如常法师馆长，还有我们的来自杜伦大学的 Robin Collingham 教授，我们还有尼泊尔国家考古局的前局长Mr. Coach Acharya， 还有我们的佛陀诞生地蓝毗尼的管理机构我们 LDT 的首席联络官Gani Gai 欢迎你。还有我们的东方文化博物馆的白馆长，还有各位国内外的与会的专家学者们大家午安，大家吉祥。
吉祥。
我今天非常荣幸呢，有机会受到主办单位的邀请来这边跟大家分享心里的话了我想这边 title 是写宜兰县政府文化局局长，我想我另外一个身份主要站在这里，我们是一个NGO 组织，叫做东方文化遗址保护联盟，然后我是担任秘书长的工作因为我们长期性呢跟我们的尼泊尔还有我们的杜伦大学有长期的合作，所以也是这次活动的一个共同协办单位所以在这个地方以这样的身份跟大家分享我们的工作内容东方文化遗址保护联盟呢，它是2008年我们在法国巴黎成立是一个 NGO 组织当时我们看到非常多的佛教文化遗址是非常严峻，所以在我们的荣誉主席旭慧法师的倡议之下，我们就成立了这样一个 NGO 组织。那么这几年来呢，我们配合联合国教科文组织，还有我们的杜伦大学，还有我们的尼泊尔国家考古局和尼泊尔的蓝毗尼信托发展基金会一起来共同合作，推展了一系列在尼泊尔的相关的考古工作，还有保存、修复、研究、调查等等相关工作。那这么几年来呢，我们配合杜伦大学这边呢，对于尼泊尔的一些相关考古工作也有很多的一个进展，所以这边要特别感谢我们的杜伦大学的团队带来非常多的一个丰硕成果跟大家做一个分享。那除此之外呢，我们对大蓝毗尼地区呢，我们也长期性的做一些调查研究工作诸如我们有一个蓝毗尼圣园的对佛陀诞生地的一个感知的一个研究，然后以及对于蓝毗尼周围的环境的影响评估调查研究。那与此同时呢，也有一系列的出版品比如说我们邀请了8位的国际摄影师，从7个主题来探讨佛陀诞生地蓝毗尼圣园。用这样的一个软性的一个诉求，让各位让大家世人更能够认识佛陀的诞生地，它的价值跟它的精神层面。所以通过这些合作，我们不断性的结合国际的资源，一起来努力这边也要特别感谢我们的荣誉主席旭慧法师的指导跟支持之下，我们才有机会跟我们的国际团队一起来共同合作。那今天呢是2018年，从我们的联盟成立到现在刚好满10年了。那回顾这10年，我们陆陆续续不断的有一些成果出来。那我们也希望未来能够秉持的 NGO 组织的这样的一个价值，继续跟我们的国际团队一起来努力，然后为我们的佛陀的以及佛教遗址做出一些贡献。最后我想敬祝各位能够在这个会议当中收获满满，然后预祝我们的国际研讨会圆满成功，然后国内外的嘉宾在这段时间能够心情愉快、身体健康。祝福大家吉祥、平安、健康，谢谢。
Thank you very much, Director General Li.
再次谢谢我们李局长。
Last but not least, we are very privileged to have the presence of Dr. Zhang Yuteng, advisor of Fo Guangshan's Buddha Museum here with us today. Once again, let's put our hands together to welcome him to address us.
我们同时也邀请佛光山佛陀纪念馆顾问张玉腾博士也为我们致辞。
是佛光山住持信宝和尚、陆常馆长、Professor 康立恒，还有来自国内外的贵宾，大家午安。
午安。
这个致辞的时间有点长了，所以我会非常简短。我每次来佛陀纪念馆就感觉到这个博物馆是一个一直在创新、与时俱进的博物馆。那么早上已经跟各位报告过，这个博物馆现在一年可以吸引1000万的观众入馆。这个不仅仅是在台湾，是在整个世界应该都是参观人次最多的一个博物馆。那么他们不只是一个办展览、办教育活动的地方。各位知不知道佛陀纪念馆有48个地宫？他们用非常创新的手法，以这个今天为明天收藏的观念，来收藏当代的收藏啊。那么以后每隔100年就会开放一座，所以这个博物馆其实是在做很多很基础的结构的事情。另外，在海峡两岸的文化交流部分，佛陀纪念馆一共有国内国外一共有10个姐妹馆啊。那么我也曾经在这个场合啊参加过博物馆新价值的研讨会啊。那很重要的一些海峡两岸的交流都在这个博物馆发生。那么在几天前啊，这个卢常馆长有打了一个简讯给我说，大英图书馆啊最近要聘请我们卢常馆长当他们做佛教展览的顾问啊。所以佛陀纪念馆啊，虽然是一个非常年轻的博物馆啊，2014年才是 ICOM 的一个最年轻的会员，可是不管是在海峡两岸，在国际交流方面，都做出很多的贡献。所以今天有这样的研讨会在这边，是一点也不让人家惊奇啊。那么这个研讨会，我个人并不是佛教或考古的专家，但是我看了这个研讨会的手册啊，从这个宗教信仰啊跟考古学术的对话啊，从历史文献跟文物的对话，还有从历史遗址的现场跟现在环境的对话，所以这个研讨会的这个主题其实是非常宽广、非常深入的。所以我预祝我们大家有一个非常愉快的一个下午，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much to Dr. Chang for your kind words.
再次谢谢我们张博士。
It is now time for group photograph. Please follow the instructions of the ushers as we seek to leave behind a record of this historical moment.
现在要进行我们的大合照，也邀请我们现场服务人员指引所有贵宾移驾至拍照的地点，为今天殊胜的一刻拍下大合照。
So all delegates on my left, please rise.
请跟着我们服务人员的指引，移驾到我们的拍照位置。好，请大家看前方，请先看我们中间的摄影师。
Please look at the cameras in front of you.
再一次谢谢我们所有的与会人士，共同见证今天殊胜的一刻。
Thank you very much to all delegates.
非常感谢我们今天所有贵宾出席今日的开幕典礼，让我们学术会议更加的精彩。
This completes the opening ceremony of the 2018 Walking with the Buddha International Academic Workshop. We wish everyone joy and perfection in both merit and wisdom. Thank you.
开幕典礼到此圆满，祝福大家欢喜自在，福慧圆满。
A series of informative presentations await us now. Please return to your seats as we will begin the paper presentations shortly.
稍后将进行论文发表，请各位学者贵宾陆续就座，谢谢您。
Distinguished scholars and guests, we are now ready to begin the 2018 Walking with the Buddha, Discovering the Natal Landscape of the Buddha International Academic Workshop.
各位学者，非常欢迎您回到与佛同行，发现佛陀的故乡国际学术研讨会现场。
On behalf of the organizers, Fo-Guang-Shan Buddha Museum and Durham University, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone today, especially those who have traveled far and wide.
仅代表佛光山佛陀纪念馆及英国杜伦大学，欢迎各位学者专家，尤其现场有许多贵宾从远处国家不辞辛劳前来共襄盛举，再次谢谢您。
Before we begin, please allow us some time to explain the procedures of today's workshop.
在会议正式前，请允许我再次解释会议进行模式。
The workshops are in both English and Chinese.
会议使用语言为英文、中文。
For presenters, each oral presentation is 20 minutes. When there are 3 minutes remaining, we will hold up a sign to notify you. When the time is up, we will hold up another sign to let you know that your time is over. Please stop your presentation at that time.
每篇论文发表时间为20分钟，发表时间剩余3分钟前，第一次举牌提示；时间结束，第二次举牌提示，请在规定的发表时间内结束。
The 5-minute question and answer sessions will take place after each presentation.
回应讨论与时间为5分钟。
There will only be time for 2 questions per presentation.
每位发表结束后限2人提问。
Each question should take no more than 30 seconds. The presenter will answer both questions together.
每人提问时间不超过30秒，发表人于所有提问结束后一并回答。
When there is only 1 minute left, we will hold up a sign to notify the presenter of the remaining time. When the time is up, we will hold up another sign. Please conclude your answer at that time.
剩余1分钟前，第一次举牌提示；时间结束时，第二次举牌提示。
For observers, please raise your hand before asking your question.
提问前，请先举手。
Each person is allowed a maximum of 2 questions at each workshop session.
每场研讨会中，每一位与会人士最多发言2次为原则。
The microphone is at the edge of your table. Pressing the round button will activate the microphone. Please begin by stating your name and affiliation.
麦克风于桌沿处，仅需按右边按钮即可发言。发言时，请先介绍自己的服务单位及姓名。
Please retain your identification badge throughout the workshop.
为了研讨会顺利进行，请各位与会人士佩戴识别证。
Please turn off your mobile phones or switch them to silent mode throughout this workshop.
进入会场，异常进行中，手机请调成震动或转为关机。
Please do not leave or enter the conference room, nor take video recordings during the workshop.
尊重异场秩序，请勿中途退场，请勿录影及录音。
Without further ado, we will begin this workshop with Professor Robin Cunningham. UNESCO Chair in Archaeological Ethics and Practice in Cultural Heritage, Department of Archaeology, Durham University, UK, who will present to us a paper on Excavating Ancient Kapilavastu, the Childhood Home of Lord Buddha.
首先邀请第一位学者，英国杜伦大学联合国教科文组织发表论文，主题为佛陀年少时成长之地加皮罗卫古城的新发现。掌声欢迎
Professor Cunningham, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you again. And my presentation is focused on the exhibition, but also on the discoveries at the site we've been working on, ancient Tirukot Kapilavastu. If I can make the slides move forward. Sorry. Right. Right. Okay, sorry about that. Seems to be a slight delay. Yeah, no. Afraid I'm having a few. It's certainly, is it? Right, thank you. Sorry for the interruption. When Buddhism began to spread up to the area of what we now know as northern Pakistan, it encountered many different cultures in that area. And some of those cultures were focused at the very well-known site of Taxila. And Taxila was a pre-existing city, and it was a city largely populated within a Hellenistic world, Bactrian Greeks. Here is a view down the main street with camels at the city of Taxila. And what you find at Taxila is two worlds colliding at the edge of the Silk Road. You have the Hellenistic world, and here you can see the very famous shrine of the double-headed eagle, and you have some very much Hellenistic pediment entrances, and you have them next to entrances which are Turanas, very much Indic. So this is a blend between East and West. And what happens is, as the impact occurs, we move from a period which is anaconic, which means there are no human representations of the Buddha, and in fact he is represented by different symbols, such as this Dharma chakra or Dharma wheel here in northern Pakistan. And instead, one moves to this wonderful world of the first human representations of bodhisattvas, the Buddha, and the life of the Buddha. What you have to remember, though, is these imaginations are through the lens of a Hellenistic world. So all of the architectural features are Hellenistic. So you get these wonderful capitals. This, of course, is an imagination of Lumbini, the birth of the Buddha. And here you can see he's being born with Queen Mayadevi, and there you see a Hellenistic capital. Here is Queen Mayadevi's dream with the elephant, and again, actually all of the decoration is pure Hellenistic. This is how people are imagining ancient Kapilavastu, how it looked like. Now, of course, they were not the only within the Hellenistic world. This is from Sanchi. And this is the Buddha riding out of ancient Kapilavastu. Again, an imagination, but what did ancient Kapilavastu look like? And here is from the Sitigu Institute in Bagan in Myanmar, and here is another imagination of the young Prince Siddhartha riding out of Kapilavastu with Mara trying to prevent him on that last fateful journey. So generations have imagined what Kapilavastu looked like. Now, we are exceptionally fortunate that actually we have very good descriptions of ancient Kapilavastu from the Chinese pilgrims Fa Sen and Wanzang, so 4th century and 7th centuries CE. And they traveled along a pilgrim route which took them from Shravasti to ancient Kapilavastu through to Lumbini. And as they went along, they described their words, their descriptions unlocked the lost heartland of Buddhism, because actually they provided the descriptions which allowed the identification of the Buddhist world. So this is the very famous photograph, 1896. This is the Asokan pillar. There is its discoverer, General Rana. And so the Chinese pilgrim descriptions unlocked the identification of Lumbini, and of course it actually mentions Lumbini, Lumbini Game. It mentions it by name, and it mentions the Sakyamuni Buddha as well, confirmation from the Emperor Asoka in the 3rd century BC. Now, they also described ancient Kapilavastu. So this is Fa Sen's description, and he described a fortified city now in ruins with stupas at the 4 corners and also a palace in the center. A very clear understanding, 4 gates, 4 stupas. This is what he described. Now, in the 1890s, once Lumbini had been discovered, then archaeologists began to look for ancient Kapilavastu. And in 1899, they came to this site. Here is the aerial photograph. And P.C. Mukherjee of the Archaeological Survey of India made this beautiful drawing, one of the best drawings we have of the site, and he recorded a fortified city at the site. Now, when he and others looked at it, he said no other site meets the identification and is in the right location. And soon after, Vincent Smith, one of the great Buddhist academics, also agreed that the descriptions linked to the ancient site of Tilurikot. Now, everyone accepted this until the 1960s. And then Debla Mitra excavated a trench over the northern fortification wall. In it, she identified that the city was fortified only at a later state, and it was unfortified in the early phases. And indeed, she said, it's no earlier than the 3rd century BC, and there is nothing that is tangible in favor. So at this point, people began to be confused. Where was ancient Kapilavastu? Now, this did not deter Rissho University from Japan, which continued to work at the site, and here are some of the contemporary academics from Rissho University. Nor did it prevent a group of Nepali pioneering archaeologists, Mr. Mishra and Mr. Rijal, who worked on the city. This is the Western Gate, which they worked on. They also worked on the Eastern Gate. And so almost as an act of faith, people put up the sign at the site saying ancient Kapilavastu. But what about the evidence? As my colleagues will discuss, in 2011, the Japanese Funds and Trust for UNESCO, Lumbini Development Trust, and also the Department of Archaeology Government of Nepal started a new project on Lumbini. It involved excavations within the Mayadevi temple. Phase 2, however, moved the focus from Lumbini to the ancient city of Tilurikot, which is set on the banks of the Banganga River. This is what the site looks like, which you may think does not look much like a city. It looks more like a grassy mound. However, using archaeological science, here is geophysical equipment. You do a magnetic measurement every 50 centimeters. This is the plan. It measures about 500 meters by about 400 meters. And if you look, you can see lines. White lines mean no brick, black lines mean brick. So if you look at the interpretation, the entire city plan is in front of us, with a fortified central core at the crossroads, grid-planned streets, the most beautifully planned city we have in early historic South Asia. Now, one of the problems we tried to resolve was then Debla-Mitra's trench. So we re-excavated the trench. And what we found was actually she had missed this line at the bottom. And if you look very carefully, you can see a series of little black holes. These are ancient post holes for a timber fence. This city was fortified in the 6th century BC with a timber fence. Now, in the later period, in the Kushana period, they built a great wall with towers. This is probably the monument that was encountered by the Chinese pilgrims Fa Sen and Wanzang. You can see now we've started to work on the great streets with the shops along the sides. And also in areas we found open squares with shops along the side and small shrines in the center, all beautifully preserved. And then close to the center of the city, measuring 30 by 30 meters, a tank dating to the period of the Emperor Soka, one of the earliest examples of urban infrastructure, which is very similar to the urban infrastructure one finds within the Kathmandu Valley, offering us a cultural link. Now, when P.C. Mukherjee in 1899 visited the site, he identified a ruin, said, Palace of Buddha's Father. And this is where the pilgrims go and venerate, because this is what the archaeologists identified. Actually, the geophysics identifies this is the palatial compound. Measures about 100 meters by 100 meters at the center of the city. This is for the geophysics. You can see it has a huge gate at the north, and it has a series of palatial buildings inside. This is the gateway to the palatial compound. This is a magnificent monumental structure. Here is an aerial view. You can see it even has a tower, and we even had the post holes for the gates. We worked then this year on the southeast corner here, where there's a slight change. Below the surface, you can see this is this huge wall measuring 1.5 meters thick. This is a monumental structure. And inside, we have a series of monumental compounds. The buildings measure about 40 meters by 20 meters. They are huge in comparison with anything else within the city. The floors are paved in brick, again, unlike anywhere within the city. And we have evidence, this is evidence of earthquake collapse, but this is a brick wall which originally would have stood 4 meters high. So this is a palatial compound. And the material within is some of the richest. We have this beautifully carved stone with four-leaf petal. We also have this soapstone reliquary with an elephant. Now, sadly, we don't know how many tusks. If there were 6 tusks, we would be very happy, but sadly the tusks are absent. We also have some tantalizing figures in stone, but again, parts of them are missing, which is why we need to continue. Now, these buildings, the buildings that were witnessed by the pilgrims, Fa Sen and Wanzang, all belong to the Kushana period. These are some of the final phases at the site. If we want to imagine the architecture of the lifetime of the Buddha, everything was built in mud and thatch and timber. So we must readjust our minds to understand that context. We have not only been working within the city, shown here, but in its hinterland. So this is the famous Eastern Stupa. Some refer to it as Kantaka Stupa. Under the fields here, we have evidence of a huge monastery. We have iron working here. We have residential and monastic. Around the city is a hinterland of religious and construction. Here is the great Kantaki Stupa here. covered still in grass. Working with the University of Tokyo and Professor Nishimura, working with Lumbini Development Trust and Department of Archaeology, we are trying to protect the landscape and put in pilgrim infrastructure away from the vulnerable archaeology. And also we have a challenge. When pilgrims come, they wear the very streets and buildings out. Here is an area where pilgrims are destroying the very heritage they come to revere. So in fact, what we're doing is we're building walkways which will allow pilgrims to visit without damaging. We are reconstructing some of the structures that we believe are Sangaramas, very similar to those visited by Fasen and Wanzang. We are putting in information boards, publishing these very beautiful booklets with our partners, and also teaching school children for awareness of heritage and engaging with the community, because although the majority of the pilgrims arriving are Buddhist, something like 80%, 85% of the population is Hindu, and the balance, often 17%, is Muslim. So we can make sure we balance the benefits. Those local communities visit the site almost every month, so we cannot disassociate them from these holy sites. Also, they believe that development of the site will benefit them, and we need to, because they believe there will be employment opportunities, infrastructure and education. It is part of our mission to assist. This year, for the first time, we had the Tillakot Kapilavastu Cultural Festival, where we brought in 200 school children and also those beautiful woven baskets downstairs in the museum. This Tharu community were demonstrating the manufacture. And then the potter, who is disabled, was making these beautiful elephants again in the exhibition with the relic caskets on their howdahs. These are beautiful objects, objects that we fully believe should be part of every pilgrim's interface and engagement with community. The children, we asked to imagine Kapilavastu as well. And at the beginning I started with images imagined by Hellenistic carvers. These are contemporary images from the school children. Here you can see Queen Maya's dream with the elephant with the 6 tusks. Here you can see a rather beautiful imagination of what ancient Kapilavastu looked like. This is the next generation who are critical if we are to preserve the sites in pilgrimage for the future and also for their benefit. By engaging them with sites, by educating, this is the way all of us can benefit, all of us should benefit. This may not be in the museum downstairs, but I hope in perhaps 10 years it will be. We work with many partnerships who have, my eyesight is very poor, I'm afraid. I cannot see this. We work with many partners who have worked together to support this important work. This is part of the team this year, and also the Alliance, which Professor Frank was mentioning, supported a Pakistani and a Bangladeshi professor to join us. And the Central Cultural Fund of Sri Lanka also sent representatives. In between the wait for the money for phase 3, which will commence next year, this gentleman, Dr. Kasai, out of his own pocket, supported the entirety of the field season, including the cultural festival. So we owe him a huge debt of gratitude. It has been a privilege to talk to you and to present on the site. I'm sorry if it's whirlwind, but I would encourage you, please, please come and visit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Cunningham.
再次谢谢康彦翰教授。
It is now time for 2 questions from the floor.
现场也开放2个问题。
Professor Cunningham has brought to us such precious evidence especially at such a period as the Buddha's birthday. How timely, thank you.
再次谢谢您，我们也邀请现场的学者专家能够把握因缘，共同呢针对我们刚才康尼汉教授的发表，作为这样的一个提问。
If not, oh, there's one. Yes. You just press the button on the side.
This is the button? Okay. We talked previously, a year or so, or two ago, about the work being done in Lumbini. And we talked also about the situation where the local market was being saturated or damaged by trucks coming in, by production of concrete, things like that. Has that changed at all? Is it still the same problem?
It is still the same challenge in terms of the road infrastructure has introduced industry. So Asia Development Bank planned the road infrastructure for pilgrims, but actually it's factories which have come. However, Mr. Ganin Rai is very important because recently he pulled together a set of resolutions for the Buddhist Jayanthi at Lumbini about 10 days ago. And one of them was to create a master plan for the greater Lumbini area to protect sites and reduce industry. Now, Mr. Rai is very resourceful because he made all the delegates sign, but then he took it to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister signed as well. So for the first time, actually, State Minister for Culture, Federal Minister for Culture, Secretary for Culture, and the Prime Minister all have endorsed it. I hope they know which document they were asked to sign, but in a way it strengthens the ability to roll back the factories. But then the challenge will be, if people are not able to work in the factories, they have to be found livelihoods. If we can begin to engage in livelihood creation, linked to pilgrimage, linked to the other services around pilgrimage, then it's a benefit for everyone. That remains the challenge.
We have a second question here from, please identify yourself before asking the question. Thank you.
我们桌沿这边可以按下按钮。
好，那我想请教一下那个罗宾·康尼汉教授哈，就是在展览中也有看到一些很多的科学的方法，包括怎么做3D 的模型来复原那个遗址的不同的阶段。但是我想了解，就是说在考古发掘的方面有没有一些运用现代科学的部分，然后跟传统的考古中间的演进跟差别？以上。
In terms of your
So the question is?
是那个文化部文化资产局文资中心的李丽芳。
So my question is, I saw during the exhibition that you used 3D models as a way to present your findings, but then I also wonder during your excavations, what type of technology did you use? I know that you use technology, but is it
How is the modern technology that you use different from other more traditional archaeological technologies in the past?
The key has been, there has been a revolution in recording, particularly digital. So now, at the beginning, we took a balloon, which we hung a camera from. So when Ira came, we had a balloon with a camera on. Now we use drones. And with drones, you can do 3D reconstruction. We've also been using geophysical equipment, so ground-penetrating radar, also magnetometry, because with I like to say rather horribly, archaeology is like gambling. At the beginning of a season, you take all your money, you throw it down in one place. You open your trench. If you find something, you're happy. If you don't, you've failed. Geophysics means every year we know exactly which set of monuments we are excavating and why, linked to presentation, to pilgrims and to local communities. So we use that equipment. In terms of dating, we use radiocarbon dating, but also optically stimulated luminescence dating, which dates sand in mud, which is very, very accurate. Accuracy is often plus or minus 20 years. And the most innovative at the moment is we're using gas chromatography to identify the species of tree in the Maya Devi temple, because all leaves have different lipids and fats. If you identify them, they are very specific to different species. So we can even reconstruct what species of tree was there at the birthplace of the Buddha.
Thank you very much, Professor Cunningham.
再次谢谢我们康宁汉教授。
We are indeed so privileged that this particular workshop started with such an informative session. Next is Mr. Kosh Prasad Acharya, Co-Director, UNESCO, JFIT Excavations, and former Director General of Archaeology, Government of Nepal. His paper is entitled The Rediscovery of Lumbini, the Birthplace of Lord Buddha.
第二位发表者为联合国教科文组织日本信托基金项目考古调查联合主任、尼泊尔国家考古局前局长，发表论文主题为重新发现蓝毗尼佛陀诞生地。
Mr. Acharya, the floor is yours. A round of applause, please.
Venerables, dignitaries, academics, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation will be focused on Lumbini. Hopefully, I will try to cover the question Madam had asked to Professor Cunningham also, because that part is in my presentation as well. So if time allows, I will try to explain that part as well. A Buddhist scripture has mentioned that at the time of parinirvana, the Lord himself advised his disciples to visit 4 places as pilgrimage, after when the Lord is no more in this world. So after his advice, the sites of Lumbini, Bodhgaya, Sarnath, and Kushinagara became pilgrimage among the Buddhist followers. And thanks to the Chinese pilgrims and their account, we were able to identify the Buddhist sites in the subcontinent. Our predecessors, at the end of 19th century, they started relocating the sites associated with the life of Buddha, and slowly these sites were being identified. And the Chinese travelers' descriptions were so accurate, so detailed, so helpful that Sarnath was identified in 1835-36, Kushinagara was in 1861, and Mahabodha was in 1892. But for Lumbini, they had to wait few more years to pinpoint. Before Lumbini was identified, there was one more site recognized, identified in 1895, the site is known as Nigliova these days, and it is associated with one of the previous Buddha, Kanaka Muni. In Pali, he has been mentioned as Konagamana. And there also, the inscription of Emperor Ashoka is available, in which the name of the previous Buddha, Konagamana, is clearly written. And that event, the erection of the pillar, had happened in the 20th regnal year of Ashoka's rule. And Emperor Ashoka, the Chinese pilgrims, they had visited the sites associated with previous Buddhas like Kraku Chanda, which has been identified as Gotyeva in present days in Nepali Tarai, and Konagamana, as I mentioned earlier, the site is known as Nigliova, then Lumbini, and also Kapilavastu, the hometown of Prince Siddhartha, had been visited by these pilgrims. And as Professor Cunningham has already mentioned, this was one of the big events when the Lumbini Ashoka pillar with the inscription was rediscovered in a way in 1896, where General Rana is seen in this picture. And the inscription written in Pali, in Brahmi script, clearly mentioned that this Lumbini, where Shakyamuni Buddha was born. Not only that, this refers to one of the earliest named village, Lumbini Game, in South Asia. And this is the translation. I don't think I need to go through. And in 1809, one archaeologist, P.C. Mukherjee, came to Lumbini and did some excavation. At that time, the landscape was like this. But he was so accurate in planning, recording the topography of that period. He plots the existence of the Ashokan pillar, existence of Mahadevi Mandir temple, and the pond, sacred pond, where Queen Mahadevi had taken bath before giving birth to Lord Buddha, and Prince Siddhartha also had been provided a shower there. So this is the one of the earliest archaeological material now there. This depicts the birth of Buddha in Lumbini Garden. So there are sites associated with the life of Buddha in Nepali Tarai and UP and Bihar of present-day India. And this is one of the interesting photos taken as early as in 1969 by Professor Raymond Olchin, when he had come to scope the development plan, the master plan for Lumbini. And this photo also was taken at that time by Professor Raymond Olchin. Kenjo Tange, who designed the master plan for the development of Lumbini, and he reconfigured the sacred garden in this way. And this is one of the early photos of 20th century, mid-20th century, when this master plan implementation was in progress. So some of the earthwork can be seen, and Mahadevi temple used to look like this when this master plan had been designed. Later on in 1990, between 1993 to 96, there was one archaeological operation conducted in this Mahadevi temple area, in which operation the marker stone, which has been interpreted as the spot where Lord Buddha, Prince Siddhartha, had touched the earth for the first time. So this marker stone is believed to be denoting that holiest of the holy place, holiest of the holy point. And present day, the Mahadevi temple built over the birth spot of Lord Buddha looks like this. And yes, the challenges the heritage sites are facing are of different magnitude and varieties. Pilgrims do come and offer coins and things to the stone pillar, posing a challenge for its conservation. And erosion is taking place, and pilgrims do need some basic facilities. And pilgrims not only need some facility, but if they can, they lead their candles on the monument itself. So in this background, UNESCO is sponsored a workshop, and we had a long discussion to find a way to strengthen the conservation and management of Lumbini. And government of Japan was very kind enough to provide this required money to conduct the conservation and research together. And before saying so, I must thank Oriental Heritage Cultural Sites Protection Alliance. The expense for these scoping workshops were covered by the Alliance. So they were the first to initiate this type of, this very important work in Lumbini. And yes, Tange, Professor Kenjo Tange has designed a master plan, and he had thought that there will be certain regulated vehicular and traffic movement. But in fact, when the things came to realize the traffic and the pilgrims, they are taking the different routes than suggested by the master plan. So this master plan also had to be reassessed, reviewed, and as this photograph shows, some of the conservation activities going on. In the top right photo, the marker stone is being conserved, and still the problem of coins around the Ashokan pillar is there. Yes, our research, we used to say that we are doing interdisciplinary archaeological methodologies. As Professor Cunningham had tried to explain, that we do geophysics. Without excavating, we try to understand the situation of the soft surface there, the archaeological vestiges remains inside. Then only we will be able to lay out our trench in a specific area. And the surveying also is done together. And conventional archaeology, digging holes, that also we do. And then geoarchaeological investigation, also we are doing, and cutting edge technology has been used in our archaeological investigation. And there are a few other social aspects also we are trying to incorporate in our archaeological investigation. Just try to relate the tangible heritage with the intangible practice and the community living around and the users coming from all over the world. So this is how we are trying. And this top left photo shows geophysicists doing survey, and bottom right photo shows some surveying activities. And we are also doing auger coring, through which, without destroying a bigger area, by doing a small hole, we try to understand the nature of the deposit below the surface. So these are some of the things. And Mr. Ira Block is here. On top right is one of the very, very wonderful photo taken by him of the post holes in the Mahadevi temple. These post holes do belong to 6th century before current era. So this is the evidence of the first shrine in that area. Yes, we revisited Ashokan brick temple, which was previously excavated, and very little was left to re-examine. But we again went there and tried to analyze the situation, and we recorded Ashokan brick from within the Mahadevi temple. Yes, earlier in that excavation also, which had taken place in between 1993 and 96, I was involved, but because of the limited technologies, we are not able to understand it properly. And in this century, 2011, 12, and 13, we revisited and we tried to reinterpret and understand properly how the monument should have looked like in Ashokan period. And we collected some roof tiles, fragments of roof tiles, and fragments of plasters. These are the fragments of roof tiles. So we came to know that in Ashokan period, the temple would have looked like this, and whose model is now available in the exhibition. So for the first time, the model has been prepared and brought here. So many people can see it. And furthermore, we kept on trying to understand the situation below the Ashokan level, and we came across a brick pavement, an area of brick pavement, and that also with aging with upright bricks. And our interpretation is that the tree was provided a brick platform all around because the tree was very sacred. So in the earlier temple also, the inner space was empty because the tree was already there. So the temple had not covered the inner space. It was open to allow the tree to remain there. And below that, we came across another series of post holes. Again, the same photo. Thank you, Mr. Ira Block. And with this evidence, we could interpret like that. And there are evidences of the Bodhi Griha and Bodhi Chaityas in Sri Lanka. The left top photo is from Sri Lanka, and left bottom is a coin from Sri Lanka, again belonging to 3rd century before current era. And the right image is top one is from Bodh Gaya, and the right bottom is from Sanchi. So these sort of things were known at that time. So now we think that we are able to break the horizon of Ashoka, because earlier it was understood that it was only Ashoka who did all these monumental building, but actually before his period also there were monumental activities. And from Bairat, a place in Rajasthan of India, the existence of postal was noticed in as early as 1930s, which again gives the indication of the existence of those things. And not only that, I think through our research, we think we are able to understand the time period of the historical Buddha, the Shakyamuni Buddha also. And the context of Buddhism, just to understand it, because of the urbanization, because of the trade, because of the new faith being introduced in the society, the spread was quite fast. And there were 16 Mahajanapadas also, which were noteworthy places. And this investigation, the result was even published in one of the famous journal, Archaeology, and it was put in among the top 10 discoveries. And our research was extended up to the monastic area around Mahadevi temple, where also we found the pre-brick evidences. So these are some of the photographs, and not very well, and I think the time is not allowing me to elaborate everything. We had done some visitor survey and things like that. So with this, I thank you for your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acharya.
再次谢谢局长。
It looks like 20 minutes is inadequate for us to cover all the evidence that you have found in the natal landscape. Now it's time for 2 questions from the floor.
现场也开放2位学者提问。
Philippines, Fo Guangshan Mabuhay Temple. Would like to ask if, based on the narrative of the Buddha's life, on the current discoveries that the archaeological scientific approach has been able to discover so far, what part of the narrative can we be very definite as so far that can be supported by the archaeological findings?
Second question.
第2个问题。
In the back.
Hello everyone, this is Hilton from Nantian Temple. As you stated in your research that there are lots of like wooden constructions. It's already been started at maybe 1300 BC, before Buddha was born. Then what would be the inspirations at that time that we could make a big part of the construction base of the Ashkas pillar?
Thank you. If I understood your question properly, one of the narratives we have added to the understanding of historical Buddha is that there are different chronologies believed about the time of the Buddha. And in short, they have been divided into short and long chronology. In Nepal and Myanmar, and Sri Lanka, and there is a tradition of belief that Lord Buddha was born in 623 before current era. So our research confirmed that traditional practice of believing that Buddha was born in that particular period, and that supports the longer chronology. So that is one addition. And there are so many other things also, I think, in this short conversation. Again, I do not dare to cross the limit of the time. So to your answer, by the time of Emperor Ashoka, when he put the pillars, the brick was reinvented, known to that place. So bricks were known, so foundation were made of brick. But in case of the pillars and the foundation, stone blocks were used for the pillars. But in the time of King Shuddhadana, the father of Buddha, the technology of brick was not available. So basically timber, mud, and thatch used to be the construction material. And even within the foundation, the pillars were inserted a little deep so it could hold the weight over ground. So that was the system. And we came across post holes in Lumini. We are coming across post holes in Kapilavastu, Tilra Court. So that is the situation. Hopefully, I satisfy you, your query. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acharya.
再次谢谢局长。
We have come to the end of session 1. Sorry, there's one more question. We have come to the end of session 1.
感谢大家第一场的论文发表到此圆满。
It is now time for tea break. May I remind everyone to return to this venue in your seats for the second session that will begin at 4 p.m. sharp. Please be seated before that time. Thank you.
现在是茶叙时间，再次提醒与会贵宾，第二场论文时间为4点准时开始，请提早现场就座，谢谢。
Thank you. Terus tadi mau lipstick mulus. Tadi mau lipstick, kamu lang lipstick.
I've been incredibly impressed by my experience at the Fo Guangshan Buddhist Museum. The site itself is absolutely stupendous. No amount of looking at it on a website can do justice to the sheer scale and ambition of this most monumental site. And to have had the opportunity with my colleagues to wander around and be shown the fantastic museum and the fantastic facilities here has been an incredible eye-opener. It's been one of the most exciting days that I can remember having had in many, many years. And I would strongly recommend anyone who has an interest in Buddhism or indeed in Taiwanese culture to come here, because it is really the most extraordinary of places.
佛陀纪念馆啊，整个这个，包括我也看了很多社交网络媒体的介绍啊，以及这边的录影、录像啊、录音，我都很感动。第一呢，我是觉得可以 做到那么美。第二呢，可以做到那么文化。第三呢，我觉得呈现也非常能够让不同语言的人、不同种族的人接触。其实我们的艺术、我们的文化就是能够要创造一个平台，让不同的语言、不同的文化可以在这里沟通。我在这里看到了一个，就是说，不光只是不同年代的语言，过去、现在跟未来，同时不同语言、不同文化背景的人也可以在这里沟通。那么通过佛陀纪念馆，我觉得给我看到的，我觉得文化、佛的弘扬以及艺术的传播，这几个方方面面都做得非常的智慧，做得非常的美，做得非常的有文化，这是我觉得非常令人欣慰的。
Session 2 will begin in 5 minutes. Please return to your seats. Thank you for your cooperation.
第二场研讨会于5分钟后即将开始，请各位学者贵宾陆续回座，谢谢您。
Session 2 of the workshop will begin shortly. Can all delegates please return to your seats? Thank you.
第二场研讨会即将开始，再请我们所有学者贵宾陆续就座，谢谢您。
Welcome back. Let us now begin session 2 of the 2018 Walking with the Buddha, Discovering the Natal Landscape of the Buddha International Academic Workshop.
欢迎回到与佛同行，发现佛陀的故乡国际学术研讨会现场。我们即将进行第二场精彩的议程。
Our first paper of this session is Managing Lumbini, the Birthplace of Lord Buddha, by Venerable Maitreya Shakyaputta. Vice Chairman, Lumbini Development Trust, Nepal. Unfortunately, Venerable Mateya cannot be physically present with us today. However, he has very kindly made a video for this session.
首先，第一篇为尼泊尔兰平尼发展信托副主席，论文主题为“佛陀诞生地的管理兰平尼园”。虽摩迪耶法师不便前来，但特别录制影片作为发表，让我们一同欣赏。
Namaste and greetings from Nepal. Most venerable monks and nuns, eminent scholars from various countries, distinguished guests, and all the participants. It is my great pleasure to send you greetings all the way from Nepal. Though sadly I couldn't participate myself due to some technical reasons, but I'm humbled and grateful to be sending this short message and greetings from Nepal. I wish to take the opportunity to express my profound gratitude to the Phogwang Temple and the Sangha for organizing this wonderful event. Similarly, I would like to also express my thanks to Durham University and the wonderful team for working together to make this exhibit a wonderful event. I would also like to thank all the distinguished scholars, archaeologists who have come together for this wonderful event to make it a wonderful success. Since its discovery, Lumbini is being developed by the government of Nepal together with United Nations as well as the Buddhist countries in the world as a World Heritage Site and International Peace Center. We believe that the birthplace of Buddha can become a place to unite the humanity together in the world, to inspire a global thinking, a global cooperation, and to help us work together to make this world a better place. I feel very grateful and fortunate that I was born near the very birthplace of the Buddha. Since my childhood, I was touched and influenced by the noble teachings of the Buddha. It is my deepest gratitude that I've been entrusted by the government of Nepal as the new Vice Chairman of Lumbini Development Trust to work together to help develop the birthplace of Buddha for all the peace-loving people in the world. It is my immense joy to congratulate the team today on behalf of the government of Nepal and the Lumbini Development Trust, and I wish this event a wonderful success. Though sadly, I'm not able to see the event myself, but I feel that I'm there today in the spirit. I would like to express my profound gratitude to the Buddha Museum for putting together this exhibit and working with Durham University to organize Walking with the Buddha event. Durham University, Lumbini Development Trust, and Department of Archaeology in Nepal, we have been working together last several years for the archaeological exploration and a sustainable conservation of the birthplace of the Buddha, a World Heritage property. A couple of years ago, as you are very familiar, with the help of Durham University, we made a tremendous archaeological discovery in the birthplace of the Buddha. Going back millennia before, with the help of proper technology, we are able to peek into the history past. We feel a profound sense of connection that we are able to trace the very first shrine where the Buddha was born, the ancient shrine at the sacred tree under which the Buddha took the first steps. Together with Durham University, Department of Archaeology, and the Japanese Francine Trust program. Last 2 years, we have been working to help explore the Kapilavastu town, where it is believed that Buddha lived for 29 years as a prince. The ancient home of the Sakyan tribe. Just recently, together with Durham University, we have been making some wonderful discoveries. I hope this exhibit and this scholarly meet together will help to broaden this ongoing research and develop interest, mutual collaboration, and exchange of ideas to continue these wonderful activities for all the Buddhist world. I'm very grateful to Fo Guang Sang Temple for working together to lead this event. Though I wish I could have been there today to hear what the wonderful scholars, researchers, and archaeologists from around the world are talking about, but I do hope to follow through and read all your presentation, get to see the archive of the event through our colleagues there, and I would like to continue working together to help develop the birthplace of the Buddha. We, the government of Nepal, has implemented the Lumbini Development Master Plan since 1978 to develop the birthplace of Buddha as a global peace center. Today, the original master plan of Lumbini has come a long way. We are working together with the ministry to try and complete the master plan of Lumbini in coming 5 years. We hope to develop the Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, as a global center for peace. As you are very aware, in today's world, especially changing socio-political situation throughout Asia, we hope Lumbini will become a common bridge. Today, Asian countries are rising through economy, through industrial innovation and change. As socio-political situation had changed so much, we're looking for common bonds. We believe Buddha's teachings, Buddhist heritage and culture is a wonderful common thread that unites all of the Asian countries together in one spirit, one culture, one understanding. Born in Lumbini, teachings of the Buddha have pervaded throughout India, throughout China, throughout Sri Lanka, Japan, Thailand, most of the Asian countries. Countries that have millennia of rich cultural history. Government of Nepal is hoping to develop Lumbini as the gateway to the Buddhist world. We hope that once Lumbini Master Plan is completed, it will become a home for all the Buddhist people in the world to connect, to find a common understanding. We hope to welcome all the Buddhists and peace-loving people to the birthplace of Buddha, and through that, inspire them to find the common cultural bond that unites us all the way from Pakistan, Gandhar, Afghanistan, and all the way to China, Tibet, Taiwan, and such. We believe that in today's world, we need to work together, the scholars, researchers, as well as the monastics, to help give this new, rich cultural experience to the future humanity. Once again, I would like to take the opportunity to express my profound gratitude to the venerable monks and nuns and the team at Buddha Museum, and also would like to thank Durham University for putting this event together. I hope that through this exhibit and people who come to see and visit the exhibit, they'll be able to see the ongoing research, archaeological exploration, and the work in the birthplace of the Buddha and its periphery. We hope that we can work together to develop these sites to become a common heritage and property for all the peace-loving people in the world. Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Venerable Matea, for your paper and your video greetings.
再次谢谢莫蒂耶法师。
Our next paper is Protecting the Natal Landscape of the Lord Buddha by Mr. Ram Bahadur Hunwar, Chief of Excavation Branch, Department of Archaeology, Government of Nepal. Unfortunately, Mr. Kunwar is unable to be present at this time. We would like to thank Dr. Jennifer Tremblay-Fitton, Honorary Research Fellow, Department of Archaeology, Durham University, UK, for presenting on his behalf.
接着为尼泊尔国家考古局考古处处长，论文主题为保护佛陀诞生地景观。我们邀请尼泊尔兰平尼发展信托首席官戴维发表，掌声欢迎。
Thank you.
Mr.
Yeah.
Ganin
Rai.
Ganin Rai, I'm sorry, Mr. Ganin Rai. So round of applause to Mr. Ganin Rai for his presentation.
Thank you, distinguished professor and director of the university and distinguished participants here. So now I'm going to present on behalf of my colleague, Mr. Ram Bahadur Kubar, on protecting the natal landscape of the Lord Buddha. This is also, I feel privileged to present on behalf of him. I do not have to say anything more because I'm not an scholar in front of the most venerables regarding the, the Buddhas. But, the Bhadrakalpa believes that there's more, the Buddhas. So we have noticed 5 Buddhas. Among them, 3 Buddhas were born in our region, Greater Lumbini area. So Konakmani Buddha, Kalkakuchanda Buddha, and Konakmana, Konakmani, and Gautam Buddha. Most of the people believe and understand the Gautam Buddha as the Lord Buddha. This is also an epigraphic evidence of the Brahmins inscript in the Pali language has mentioned in the second pillar. So 2 earlier presenter has mentioned about this. Regarding this presentation also, Professor Cunningham and the Director General Kosprasad Acharya has highlighted. Thank you. And regarding the 2 famous Chinese traveler, Fai Yan, we believe to visit 403 C and Xuanzang in 636 BC in our region, especially Lumbini and Kapilvastu. Their travel account has aided us to explore, the more archaeological evidences and beliefs related to Lord Buddha and ancient Kapilavastu. And we're having various challenges in the region of the Lord Buddha in our natal landscape. Mostly the encroachment. There is a human encroachment and industrial encroachment we're facing on, and there is a huge pollution are creating by the the various industries, and also transboundary pollution also we're having problem, and development and modernization, because nowadays due to the tourism, increasing tourism, the huge development is going on, and modernization also going on. And there is the erosion, grazing, extraction on soil, and community engagement. So we're having various type of problem in the region, and we're discussing to mitigate those problems in the region. And also that is also an opportunity, not a threat. But as an expert, we have to say this is a threat, because there is one airport called Gautam Buddha Airport, which is going to be increased, upgrade as a regional international airport. So probably you may have a chance to visit directly Lumbini. You can fly from Taipei to Lumbini by next year. So that is also one of the threat and opportunity. And the huge expansion of the road, because road is now, there's a huge investment and support from the Asian Development Bank to expand their development activities in the region. So, so road expansion also we're having problem, and also an opportunity. And that, yeah, that is also the picture of the road extension. That is, this extension is damaging the, the archaeological vestiges in the region. So we are also having difficulties to manage, to protect our heritage because of the development. And this is very close to the Sacred Garden, the exact birth spot. So, the urbanization is also another threat. So we're trying to mitigate this problem with discussing among the stakeholders like a municipality to establish the building code as soon as possible. And I have already mentioned regarding the threats from the industrial encroachment. There's more than 22 cement factories in and around Lumbini and other, the various type of factories. So we're trying to, not to relocate, we're discussing to relocate it, and we have recently assessed the, the impact of the industrial encroachment in the region. And we have carried out archaeological assessment as a cascade, is a site assessment like previous studies, and UAV drone photography, and field walking, archaeological geophysics, auger coring, excavation, risk map, conservation, and presentation of the sites. The previous archaeological investigation is mostly, we have recorded from 1996, when the Lumbini Asokan pillar was rediscovered. Then 1899, P.C. Mukherjee, he came to excavate the site, and he has developed really beautiful map. And in 1962, Ms. Devala Mitra from Archaeological Survey of India has come to investigate these sites, and the University of Tokyo, under the UNESCO Japanese Fund and Trust project, has carried out some, the investigations, and found more than 136 archaeological sites in the region. And this is the picture of UAV mapping of the Ramagrama. Ramagrama is the only virgin stupa we called, which is containing the relic stupa of Lord Buddha. Sorry. Yeah, some geophysics studies carried out in the sites. It's called Sagarhawa. And we have developed archaeological risk map at Lumbini. This is the major guidelines to protect the heritage. And this has been developed under the UNESCO Japanese Fund and Trust project, and Professor Cunningham and Mr. Acharya has taken initiation to develop it. And we do have a key pilgrimage site within Greater Lumbini area. It's called Aurora Kot, Khodan, Gotihawa, Sisanhia, Karma, Sagarhawa, Chatradehi, Ramagram, and Dohani. Among the 136 archaeological sites, which is directly and indirectly related to the life of Lord Buddha. And this, the Aurora Kot, there is a huge archaeological remains is there, and we have to carry out you know, the archaeological exploration. And, yeah, it was prepared by the P.C. Mukherjee in 1899. This is the result of the geophysics of the site. And this is also the results of the geophysics by Durham University under the UNESCO Japanese Funding Trust project. And we're having cattle grazing in the most important sites called Sagarhawa, where they, you know, thousands of Sakyas were massacred by the King Birudhaka. Yeah, this is the drawing made by P.C. Mukherjee of the Sagarhawa. Outcome of the geophysics survey. Geophysics and Khudan is a very important site, so we believe, called Nigrodhara. We can find the, you know, the various decorative bricks from the various period. This is the aerial picture of the Khudan, Nigrodhara. This is also the, you know, the outcome from the geophysics, and we have to expand the sites. Now we have 3 structures existing, but among instead of them, there is various sites is most important. And Chatradahi geophysics is going on. It's a drawing of this Chatradahi. The Gotihawa, I have already mentioned about the earlier Buddha, Krokuchanda Buddha. So this is the natal town of the Krokuchanda Buddha. There's a 3 Asokan pillar in our sites in existence. So this also give us epigraphic evidence, and there's a huge structure, brick structure of the stupa, which was excavated by the Professor Berardi and team from Italy. Now it is well conserved. And this is the picture of the excavated stupas. Yeah, oh, drone picture is missing. Yeah, sorry. And another most important site is called Ramagrama, where I have already mentioned only the Virgin Stupa, which is containing the corporal relics of the Lord Buddha. And the photo was taken in 1997 by Professor Robin and team when he was deployed by the UNESCO and UNDP for this research. And this is the sites, and we're trying to occupy the whole land, entire land, and probably by next year, the UNESCO JFIT team led by the Professor Robin and Mr. Acharya will carry out some archaeological activities and research in the sites. This is the result of the geophysics of the sites. There is a huge structure, and another site is called Sisania. This is also the result of the, you know, the geophysics. We do have a scientific outcome from the geophysics, so it's very easy. Now it's not being like a professor has mentioned gambling, but now we can't say gambling because of the geophysics. And Dohani, another most important sites. And this is the outcome of Dohani. The structure, huge structure we have found. And this is another most important site, Karma. And heritage impact assessment help us to protect our heritage, and it helps to mitigate the existing problems. So we have carried out that assessment in the Tilora Kot area, ancient Kapil Bastu, where we are excavating now, and it was taken under the UNESCO Japanese Funding Trust project, and that planning of the site was prepared by the University of Tokyo. This is the map prepared by the University of Tokyo for the proper management, because as a pilgrims, as a manager, everybody want to have their sites, keeping intact and presentable. And there's also the huge opportunity of the pilgrims in the sites. So every day, number of pilgrims are increasing in the sites. They have a huge respect of the sites. And always we can, touch and talk about the Xuanzang, Huanshan, because his travel account is most important for our research, for our activities. So he has mentioned in his travel accounts about the Tilora Court, Karma, and finally Lumbini. It comes from the Kapilvastu sites, Dohani, Karma, and Lumbini. And this is the one of the donor who Dr. Kasai has mentioned. Everybody has mentioned about him. He was supported to carry out our activities last year with the the financial grant. So we are very much grateful with the Dr. Kasai and Hotel Lumbini Kasai. And thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you have any questions regarding this presentation and previous presentation of my Vice Chairman, Venerable Vice Chairman, he was unable to present here. So I'm ready to answer on behalf of Venerable Vice Chairman and these presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gyanin Rao, Chief Liaison Officer, Lumbini Development Trust of Nepal. And thank you very much for offering to take questions. So it's now time for 2 questions from the floor.
谢谢我们首席联络官呢，现场呢也开放问题。
Tom from BBEP in Sydney. I'm just wondering, what does the UNESCO involvement, how does that lend weight to the efforts for heritage conservation?
Okay, the second question, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kenneth. I'm from Buddha Museum Volunteers. And I have some question. I'm very interested in the sign stone, 标志石。那我想要请教一下，就是那个标志石，就是只有佛陀才有吗？还是伟人才有那个标志石？然后第二个问题就是在考古的时候，我们可能挖掘了很多的石头，但是我们要如何确定这个就是标志石？谢谢。
The question is about these sandstone marks. There are many of such stones being discovered as you do archaeological digs. Are they reserved only for the sages, only the Buddha, for example? Or is it across religions? Or is it for anyone?
Thank you. First, I go for his question. Lumbini is the place where a secular leader and religious leader can be sit together. Now UNESCO has a great concern to preserve these sites. So this project also initially initiated because Lumbini was inscribed in the list of World Heritage in 1997. Instead, 1997, we have support and cooperation. And initially, the Oriental Cultural Heritage Site Protection Alliance, Master Si Hui and Dr. Frank Lee were support to conduct some scoping workshop. Then we do have a regular involvement of the UNESCO in Lumbini for its better safeguarding, mostly the safeguarding. They're taking initiation on it. And regarding her question, we do have a very few remarkable monuments inside the Sacred Garden. One is the Asokan Pillar, one is Nativity Sculpture, and the third one is the Marker Stone. So we do have 3 Asokan Pillar in existence in the Great Lumbini region. So we believe that it was especially erected by the Emperor Asoka to remark his visit Lumbini and other 2 other sites where Konak Muni and Krokuchanda Buddha was born. So instead of that 3 pillar, conglomerative pillar, we do not help others.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together. First, to thank Mr. Gyanin Rao for reading the paper and to Mr. Kunwa for his paper.
再次谢谢您。
The final paper for today's session is co-authored by Dr. Craig Barclay, Head of Museums, Durham University, UK, and Dr. Rachel Barclay, Curator, Oriental Museum, Durham University. The title of the paper is Walking with the Buddha Through the Collections of Durham University and will be presented by Dr. Craig Barclay.
第三位为英国杜伦大学博物馆总馆长以及东方文化博物馆策展人共同研讨，论文主题为“与佛同行，认识杜伦大学的典藏”，由杜伦大学博物馆总馆长发表。掌声欢迎
Dr. Barclay, the floor is yours.
Distinguished Venerables, colleagues, scholars, guests, it is a great honour to be standing here today to present at this international workshop. But it struck me that throughout the day we've been talking about Durham. Durham comes up again and again in our conversations. But I wondered how many people here knew anything about Durham at all. Durham is a city in northern England. It's a very small city with a population of only about 50,000 people, covering some 32 square kilometres. And whilst it has been settled since about 2000 BC, it isn't until the 10th century of the Common Era that it becomes in any way important, because at that time it was established as a very crucial religious site when a group of holy monks from Lindisfarne, an island off the northeast coast of England, chose the high peninsula in the centre of what is today Durham to be the place to bury the body of a holy man, St. Cuthbert, who had previously been buried in Chester Street. From that burial grew the great cathedral and castle that you see. Oops, I'm looking for. Well, that you can see in the photograph, illuminated. And those were designated as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1986. Where next, you ask, is Durham? Well, Durham is up there. In England, just inland, as we're about 20 minutes drive from the coast, and the image on the right-hand side of the screen shows Durham Castle and Durham Cathedral as they look today, on a little peninsula in the middle of a loop in the river, a very green and beautiful city. And so it is built as a holy city, but today is also a city of learning, and is home to Durham University, which was founded in 1832 as the third oldest university in England, gaining its charter in 1837. The university has about 18,300 students and about 1,700 academic staff. And it is both an historical university and a very modern university. So on the right-hand side of the screen, we see a formal dinner at University College in the castle, a place where students can live in accommodation that is 1,000 years old. And on the left-hand side of the screen, the Ogden Centre for Theoretical Physics. So, enough about the university in general. What about the Oriental Museum? Well, the Oriental Museum is one of three museums run by Durham University. It is one of the region's great historic gems and has about 33,000 objects in its collections, ranging in date from prehistory to the modern day and covering the whole of Asia and North Africa. Why would we have such a collection in Durham? Well, the reason for that goes back to the immediate post-World War II period, when a new school was established in Durham to teach the languages of Asia. And the first head of that new school was a man called Thomas W. Thacker. We see his photograph here. and he believed that an Oriental school which aims to teach the cultural background of the Oriental people must have a museum at its disposal. And so, from its earliest days, the School of Oriental Studies, initially located in the rather fine 19th century building on the right-hand side of the photograph, set about collecting objects to support its teaching. By happy coincidence, at the time it was being founded, an opportunity arose to collect a very major group of objects which had been collected in the 19th century by a man called Hugh Percy, the 10th Duke of Northumberland, one of the richest 19th century men in England. It was a collection of some 2,000 ancient Egyptian artifacts, supplemented by Mesopotamian artifacts collected by his nephew. This collection could not have been acquired without the help of Henry Norman Spalding. And Henry Norman Spalding was a man who believed that in order to promote a better understanding between the great cultures of the world, one had to encourage the study of religious principles. He felt that it was upon the basis of understanding religious principles that we could understand people. And he was very supportive in acquiring this collection and became very interested in developing, with Thacker, a museum in Durham. So, it became very clear through looking at surviving documentation that Mr. Spalding, Dr. Spalding and Dr. Thacker were very close allies. And in 1952, Dr. and Mrs. Spalding put up the money to support the establishment of two new lectureships at Durham, one in Chinese philosophy and the other in Indian religions and philosophies. And this opened the route to the acquisition of artifacts from East and from South Asia, including Buddhist material. The Spaldings were instrumental in arranging the donation of two collections relating to Buddhism. The Byrne collection of Gandharan sculpture, many pieces from which are in the exhibition at Fo Guang Shan today, and the Marshall collection of photography from India, which is also well represented. So, the Byrne collection. Alexander Henderson Byrne was born in 1985 in Bath in southern England, but he made his career in India, where he joined the army in 1905, spending most of his career on what was then called the northwest frontier of India. He was a soldier by training, but he was also deeply interested in archaeology. And when he retired from the army, he actually became an archaeologist, working with archaeologists such as Max Mallowan, seen on the right-hand side of the screen here, and his wife, who you may be more familiar with as the crime novelist Agatha Christie, who also doubled as an archaeologist. So he became a very well-known, very distinguished archaeologist in his own right, but the time in his career which we're interested in is when he is still in India. And it was whilst there that he began to develop a collection of almost 70 pieces of Gandharan sculpture. Material which reflected the art form that developed at the crossroads of Asia, where today we see modern Pakistan and Afghanistan. Sculpture which, as we can see in the galleries, brings together the artistic traditions of India, the artistic traditions of the Greek world and Roman world, and the artistic traditions of Persia to create a new form of art. And it's in this melting pot that we see the development of the earliest Buddhist sculpture. So from the Byrne collection, we were able to obtain a magnificent collection of Buddhist sculpture. Because after Byrne's death in 1949, his sister, Miss M.T. Byrne, was keen that the collection should stay in public hands. She originally thought it should go to the British Museum or to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. But Mr. and Mrs. Spalding persuaded her that instead she should give it to Durham. And so it was that this really important collection, part of which we've been able to bring to Taiwan, came into the possession of Durham University. But Byrne didn't just collect Buddhist sculpture from Gandhara. We also were able to obtain, through Dr. Spalding's involvement, 3 magnificent Tibetan tankers from the same source. So, that tells us a little about Bern, but what about the pictures which we see on the walls? Many of those are images from the collection of Sir John Marshall, born in 1876, died in 1958, who was the first Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. He was very famous as an archaeologist, having dug at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and many other sites across South Asia. And whilst Director General, he collected almost 5,000 photographs of key archaeological and historic sites across India, and those included many important images of Buddhist sites. We have been in the process for some time now of attempting to work our way through the digitization of all of these photographs in order to make them available. There are 5,000 in the total collection, 2,000 of those are now digitized, and we're working with colleagues from Robin Cunningham's team to get all of these available and accessible online in due course. The images here being of the Buddhist monastery at Nalanda in modern-day Bihar in India. Other images showing important Buddhist sites include the photographs on the screen here, the great stupa at Sanchi, a seated Buddha from Sarnath, and of course Bodh Gaya in the bottom right-hand corner. It's fantastic to bring collections to Durham, but we didn't have a museum until 1960. And the reason that we got a museum was through the generosity of the Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation, who put forward a grant of £60,000 sterling in 1957 to develop a new museum. The first curator of that museum was called Philip Rawson, a self-taught Sanskrit scholar who had studied in London and had written a thesis on the Indian sword. He was very keen on collecting Buddhist material and collected materials such as a series of rubbings, and on the right-hand side of the screen here, a wonderful piece of work by Sengai Gibon called Selfless. Sengai Gibon was the abbot of the Shofukuji temple in Japan and died in 1837. The museum opened in 1960, and when it opened, we were immediately showing our Gandharan sculpture. And if you look at this photograph of the brand new museum as it was in 1960, you can see many of the pieces on display in Taiwan today in the cases in the foreground. The museum doesn't look like that anymore, I might add. Rawson had developed excellent relations with curators at the Victoria and Albert Museum through bringing the Bern collection to Durham, and he was also able to persuade them to transfer other important Buddhist material to Durham in 1963, including some very important Pala period sculptural material, such as the 3 votive stupas in the current exhibition, and other pieces from Southeast Asia, including this very fine 17th century Burmese Buddha figure. So, those are a few of our key collectors, but who else was involved? So Charles Harding is a man for whom I'm unable to find a photograph. So here's an imaginary image of him, plus his family coat of arms, his family badge. He was born in 1878 and died in 1968. And he brought to Durham a huge and important collection of Chinese jades, many of them with Buddhist symbolism. But in addition to that, he collected other Buddhist material. He was very, very interested in Buddhism and brought to his collection material made in buffalo horn, material made in bronzes, etc. His collection was one of the first to come to the museum in 1960, and perhaps the most spectacular piece in his collection is the head on the screen in front of us here, which is a head from Japan, a head of Lord Buddha, dating from the Kamakura period of 1185 to 1333. Another key figure in our collecting is Malcolm MacDonald, who was a British diplomat and son of the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. He collected Chinese ceramics and initially lent and then transferred his collection to Durham. It included many, many fine pieces of Buddhist art, including this Dehua Blanc de Chine figure of Guan Yin, made between 1700 and 1750, but also included a very fine Gandharan Bodhisattva head, which is also on display in the exhibition in Durham. In Taiwan. Because we're in Taiwan, we're not in Durham. I'm still confused as to where I am. Another important character is Sir Henry Wellcome, who, when I look at this photograph, he reminds me of some of the Gandharan Bodhisattva figures, such as his magnificent moustache. Sir Henry Wellcome was a great British collector. He made his fortune in pharmaceuticals, and his collection was so large that after his death in 1936, it took his trustees 50 years to distribute his collection around museums in Britain. We were very fortunate to gain some important Buddhist stelae from China, from the Ming period. And here we see one of those currently on display in our Marvels of China gallery. So a reference to the galleries in Durham as opposed to the galleries in Taiwan. So, although the museum was founded in 1960, if you visit it today, you will find a very modern museum because we've been reinterpreting and redisplaying the entire museum since 2009. So today it is a very modern museum with 2 Chinese galleries, one of which, on the screen here, is named after Malcolm MacDonald. In those galleries, you will find magnificent pieces of Buddhist art. And here from the Yuan or early Ming period, we have a very fine statue carved in wood of Avalokiteshvara of the Lion's Roar, which is the finest example of its type to be found outside China. There is a similar piece in the Metropolitan Museum in New York, but I would say that the Durham piece is superior. It came to us from the collection of Christopher John Kennington and had originally been acquired by his father during the period around about 1917-1918. We also have a gallery devoted to the culture of Japan, which again, not surprisingly, features much Buddhist material. Here we see a domestic shrine, a Butsudan, gifted to us by Yukio Kiho and Tsurugi Iwai in memory of their parents in the year 2000. And we quite often find Buddhist visitors standing in front of this shrine, which is a very, very beautiful and much admired piece on display. We also have fantastic collections from the Himalayan regions, from Bhutan, from Nepal, and particularly collections reflecting Tibetan Buddhism, which are displayed in the Roberts Gallery, which we completed in 2015. And in developing that gallery, we worked very closely with Buddhist students who helped us develop both the gallery displays and also the associated digital resources. The Tibetan collections are very strong, particularly in Tankers, and the green Tara of 18th, 19th century date on the left was collected by the second Marquess of Zetland. So again, a very wealthy British aristocrat who had been governor of Bengal and Secretary of State for India. And the prayer wheel on the right is perhaps a rather less exotic item, which was purchased in the 20th century in Peshawar Bazaar. We undertake, we lost the photograph, how sad. We undertake a lot of research on our collections, and I felt that this was one which is well worth showing because it captures the young Dr. Jennifer Tremblay Fittle as a student in 2010 working towards her doctorate, but working on our Gandharan sculptural collection with other members of Robin Cunningham's team. But perhaps the most important piece of Buddhist research which we have done in recent years has related to the development of this exhibition which we are so proud to be involved with here in Taiwan at the Fo Guangshan Buddha Museum. And here we see the perhaps unlikely scene of Robin Cunningham and representatives of Fo Guangshan Museum planning the exhibition within the context of a gallery dedicated to ancient Egypt. Not a scene that you will very often see. We are absolutely delighted as a museum to have the opportunity to work with our colleagues at Fo Guangshan and to showcase material from the Marshall and Byrne collections in this truly wonderful world-class Buddha Museum. For us, it is a unique opportunity to bring these precious works to new audiences from around the globe. And when I look back at Dr. Spalding and his dream of using faith-based collections to bring together the people of the world in greater understanding, I feel sure that he would have approved. I think it is a fine example of humanistic Buddhism. Thank you so much for allowing us to show our collections here. It is an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barclay.
再次谢谢总馆长。
It feels like you have given us a lot of reasons to visit Durham University and the Oriental Museum.
We would be delighted to welcome you all. Hopefully not all at the same time, because it's not a big museum.
But we do have time for 2 questions, so this is your opportunity.
我们现场也开放问题，可以请教我们的总馆长。
Hi, Dr. Barclay. This is Stacy from Buddhist Birthday Education Project. My question is, how does the Buddhist Fo Guangshan Buddha Memorial Center Museum allows you to do things that you weren't able to do at the Durham University Museum?
Okay. Right. Second question.
第二个问题。
Well, Dr. Barclay, would you like to take this question first?
In this case, there is a very, very great advantage to showing our collections at the Buddha Memorial Museum. The Buddha Memorial Museum attracts up to 10 million visitors a year. The Oriental Museum, which is small, attracts maybe 35,000 visitors per year. We have wonderful collections, we have wonderful world-class collections, and we are very keen that our collections should inspire as many people as possible. By keeping them only in Durham, we can only inspire small numbers of people. By bringing them to Taiwan, we can spread the word much more effectively. So by having the material on display here, we can reach new audiences, and that for us, because as museum curators we have a duty, a purpose to educate and inform, and so you allow us to perform our duty more effectively. So we're grateful for that.
Thank you. Well, if there are no further questions, then we'd like to thank Dr. Barclay for your presentation.
Thank you.
再次谢谢我们总馆长。
We are very privileged this afternoon to have been treated to 5 fascinating papers containing archaeological evidence and artifacts spanning over 2,500 years. We cannot help but feel that we might have, centuries ago, been at Lumbini, Kapilavastu, and one of those sites that you have presented to us. That we are here today to relive the histories of great people of the past. What great affinities that you have brought to us. Thank you.
从今天5篇的发表中，听见了来自2500年的考古发现，让我们重游了兰皮尼园、加皮罗卫国等地，有如古代的伟人重现我们眼前，真是一时千载，千载一时。
We have now concluded session 2 and day 1 of the 2018 Walking with the Buddha, Discovering the Natal Landscape of the Buddha International Academic Workshop.
与佛同行，发现佛陀的故乡国际学术研讨会第1日发表已圆满。
Delegates who have registered for dinner are welcome to join in the welcome banquet on level 5 of this building at 5:30 p.m. Please note there's a change of time to 5:30 p.m. Please carry your translation device along with you to dinner. Other delegates, please return your translation device as you leave today.
今晚的晚宴设于佛光楼5楼，请各位学者贵宾在5点半前就座。
More exciting presentations await us tomorrow. Session 3 will take place at 9 a.m. tomorrow in this same venue. Before you leave, please ensure that you take along all your belongings with you.
第3场的研讨会将于明天上午9点准时开始。离开前，请将所有个人物品携带走，除学者外，其余翻译机请于9楼旁的接用处归还。谢谢您。
Thank you very much.
再次谢谢我们所有今天与会的学者及贵宾，再次谢谢。